What is up, fight fans, and welcome to the first ever Ugly Truth Fight Picks podcast. I am Ryan Jarrell, and you know who that is. That is UFC middleweight Joseph Ugly Man Holmes. And Joseph, we have a great fight card this Saturday at the Apex. It's UFC Vegas 67. So let's just dive right in. We have a new main event now. It was supposed to be Kelvin Gastelum and Nassourdine Imavov, but now Imavov has a new opponent. Sean Strickland has stepped in and replaced Gastelum. He had that nasty tooth eye injury in training. It didn't look too good. So Sean Strickland saves the day, and this is your new main event. And he's the dog. Sean Strickland coming off a fight very recently, a very close fight, which a lot of people thought he won. He's plus 100 right now, and Nassourdine is your favorite, minus 120. Do you like those odds, or do you feel like Strickland, the veteran fighter, maybe the more household name, should be a favorite here?
You know, I guess because that four fight win streak that Imavov's on kind of makes it, a little fun of a gamble. But I actually, after giving a little thought, I kind of do like those odds. I think that is it puts a little twist on things because now at least we have the entertainment factor from Strickland. But that's interesting because Strickland's only been losing to some of the highest caliber of fighters, and he just lost a decision to Cannonier, which is one of the best right now in the division. So yeah, actually, I think I would throw Strickland on that on my list of guys that I would want to win, the underdog that should win for sure.
With Strickland just going the distance, with Cannonier, a very tough fighter, one of the top of the division. I mean, how smart is it for him to, take a fight this dangerous so quickly?
It looks to me that Strickland's just trying to stay busy. He has something to prove, I feel. I mean, he's just coming up a little bit short, and then with the his first fight with the now champ, maybe it lit his fire, because he's supposed to be a striker, and to get knocked out by a guy, who's now the champ, that probably lit his fire. So I'd imagine that he's coming in pretty hungry and kind of going back to his grappling days, because he actually has a great grappling like technical set. He's actually pretty good on the ground. So I don't know. I'd like if we see that from him, I think that he has a good chance of winning and he can make us some money.
Do you think, the biggest thing with him sometimes is, maybe not fighting the smartest? Like when you look at that Pereira fight, the worst thing to do is to stand and trade with that monster. And he was all gung ho wanting to stand and trade with the guy who a lot of people feel like has heavyweight power. And he showed that, knocking Strickland out. I mean, is there a game plan that Strickland needs to stick to get this win over a really tough fighter in Nassourdine Imavov?
Maybe lose the ego, I'm sure, I would say, and then just jab and move, man. That's always the best game plan. Jab and move and be low in your stance, and maybe just veer away from how he stands straight up and he kind of has his chin up and he just throws strikes down, just heavy strikes. Just maybe just jab and move and be ready for those takedown attempts because Imavov is going to shoot, and he's probably going to be the more of the aggressor. So he needs to just jab and move his feet.
All right. Well, I'm just very happy that the main event was saved. Initially, it was supposed to be Jeff Neal and Rachmanov. Now that fight has been pushed off, and then it was Gastelum and Imavov, and now Sean Strickland steps in for Gastelum. So at least the main event is saved. Very happy about that. Let's move to the co-main event. Dan Ige, Damon Jackson. Can't wait for this one. I'm really intrigued about it. Damon Jackson's on quite a streak right now, 4-fight win streak. We saw what happened, before his last fight. Really, I can't imagine what that was like emotionally to stay composed, to go out there and get the biggest win of his career. But he is a small underdog to Dan Ige. Ige's minus 125 favorite. Damon Jackson is the plus 105 dog. And we know what Jackson wants to do. He wants to get this to the mat. He wants to utilize his jiu-jitsu and hopefully submit Ige. Do you feel like there's some money to be made here on the underdog, or do you expect the small favorite in Ige to get his hand raised?
Well, so Damon's from Fortis. Those guys are dogs at Fortis, you know what I mean? And Damon's a veteran, dude. Damon's had his ups and downs, but now he's kind of back on one of those ups where it's lasting a little bit longer than we're used to seeing with him. So I think Damon being the underdog could definitely make us some money for sure, actually, because I like Ige. I like how Ige throws his hands. I like how Ige is aggressive, but Damon's on another level. The way he grapples, man, is definitely something to admire. So I think that he can get this to the man. I think that Damon does win you some money. I don't know where it's shifting with the betting odds right now, if it's still rolling or if that's set in stone at 105, you said, but right, 105.
Right now he's plus 105 is what I'm
Uh,
seeing.
yeah, so yeah, I would bet on Damon all day. And I've seen him firsthand when I trained at Fortis. He's always been a hard worker. He's always had the same game where he's attacking nasty arm triangles and different, really deadly attacks like that you don't see a lot. You don't see guys attacking the type of submissions that he attacks constantly. So I think there's money to be made there for sure.
And as I said, he's on a 4-fight win streak, most notably the biggest win of his career, beating a young upstart in Pat Sabatini. And on the other side with Ige, 3 losses in a row. Again, he's fighting guys at the top of the division. He lost to Josh Emmett, who's fighting for the title. Movsar Evloev and the Korean Zombie. So this is a guy that really is fighting elite competition. Do you feel like we might see a desperate Dan Ige, because he doesn't want to lose 4 in a row? He needs to get this win.
I don't know, man. I don't know much about his personality, but Ige's always been one of my favorite people to watch. I love how he throws his hands. But I mean, Damon's just next level. Plus, he has like, kind of like a passion to him right now with what he just went through.
Yeah.
And I think he's really determined. I don't know if a desperate Ige could beat Damon Jackson.
Okay. I can't wait for that co-main event. I'm really intrigued about that featherweight bout. Let's keep it moving. We'll go back to the middleweight division here. Another really interesting fight. Puna Soriano, Roman Kopylov. And this is pretty close in as far as the odds go. Kopylov is your dog, plus 135. Puna is your favorite, minus 155. How do you see this fight? And I know this is in the middleweight division, so you probably can tell us a little bit more than the average guy. How do you see this fight stylistically playing out?
I'm trying to remember a couple of. I'm trying to remember these two guys, but is this the one where one stepped in short notice? I know we have one of those. There's someone stepped in short notice, right?
Well, I know Jeff Neal and Rachmanov. Neal withdrew. That was welterweight bout. I don't think this was short notice. I can't remember off the top of my head. I have to pull up Tapology and double check.
Got you.
Let me see here. Kopylov. No, I don't see a short notice fight unless it was Puna that was stepping in.
Okay, I've never
Oh,
seen that with these different fighters, but either way, man, I think whoever's going to be pushing the pressure the most, which I'm pretty sure Koplov's more so to be pushing the pressure with bombs and looking for those takedowns and stuff. So I guess whoever's pushing that pressure the most is gonna get this fight. But the odds are even, so it's kind of not even worth betting on. But it's definitely going to be a spectacle to see for sure because of everything going on in our division. I feel like middleweight might be one of the hungriest divisions right now.
yeah, I mean that's a great point. Both of these guys have the exact same record, 9-2. So we'll see who can get to double digits and get that 10th win right there.
Yeah, I might see who loses that fight, man. Actually, now that you think about it, I might go ahead and check this one with my binoculars on.
That's what I'm saying. This really could be an opponent that could be around the corner for you. So intriguing bout right there in the middleweight division. Caitlin Vieira, Raquel Pennington. That's a bantamweight bout, and it's basically a pick 'em. Pennington minus 105, Vieira minus 115. I mean, I gotta go with the veteran and Rocky. I just I don't know. I've always liked her. Although Vieira is I mean, when you look at her record, 13-2, I feel like she should be a little bit more of a favorite, and Pennington is closer to the end of her career. I don't know. How do you see this one going?
Man, experience speaks for itself, man. But I'm telling you, Vieira's been looking good. I think this one's a really interesting fight, but I think I'd probably go with Pennington as well. Is she the plus favorite or underdog right now?
It's essentially a pick 'em, so you're not really going to make any money either way here.
They're not worth it, but man, no. I think this one's gonna be good. This could be fight of the night potentially. I really like Raquel as well, but the experience might get her this fight.
All right. We'll stay in the bantamweight division, but we'll go over to the men's side of things. And Umar Nurmagomedov, Rouhani Barcelos. This is a massive discrepancy as far as the odds go. Umar Nurmagomedov is a minus 675 favorite. Barcelos is a plus 500 dog. I mean, if you were to put some money down on Barcelos and he shocks the world and pulls this massive upset, you could win some serious coin in this fight. But I feel like the Umar is the favorite for a reason. I expect him to do what Nurmagomedov's do and go in there and rinse and repeat, do his showcase his extreme wrestling credentials. Do you expect the same, or do you feel like there's a chance for Ronnie Barcelos could get a win?
There's no chance. I'm pretty sure that UFC is building this guy,
Yeah.
giving him some of the, like this matchup isn't really something that, kind of startles me. You know what I mean? It's like the other guy's going to try and grapple as well. So come on now. You're not going to you don't stand a chance right now against Umar Nurmagomedov, man. He's actually one of my favorites right now. I'm so excited to see how his career goes. But yeah, no, I would not bet against Umar at all. I would not even attempt that.
Yeah.
Unless it's just $100 you want to see, just in case.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you could win a lot of money if and you never know with fighting. I mean, one shot, everything can change. But I gotta go with you too. I mean, Umar looks scary. I was talking to a colleague of mine, Garrett Kerman, who is the fight analyst. That's what he does. That's what he's best at. Is he dissects these fighters and looks at the odds. And he told me he feels like Nurmagomedov is going to eventually be the champion one day. So that's some strong words right there. I can't wait to see him back in the octagon again this Saturday, UFC Vegas 67. We'll keep it moving here. Javid Basharat, Matus Mendoza. Basharat is a fairly big favorite here, minus 345. Mendoza plus 285. What do you think of this fight? Do you know anything about one of these guys, one way or the other?
Oh, Russ Hawk? Russ Hawk, man. Yeah, I love Russ Hawk. He's from my area too. And I've gotten the privilege of seeing him fight growing up in this sport before I ever even had the chance to fight Razak, excuse me. Sorry, I'm
So
still
you're talking about Abdul Razak Al Hassan.
Yeah, Hassan.
Okay. Okay. We'll just go with that one. I was actually talking about Basharat and Mendoza, but El Hassan is fighting Claudio Ribeiro. That's at middleweight. That's your division. Ribeiro.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Who did?
Oh, it's all good. It's all good. That's basically a pick'em, Joseph. So I mean, it's minus 110, minus 110. So this is a pick'em fight. Do you feel like Abdul Razak Al Hassan is going to get the win, or do you feel like Ribeiro is someone that's maybe a little bit newer to the UFC that can go in there and get a big W?
I like Ribeiro as well. I think he's good too. I've seen him fight a couple of times, but Razak, man, he's just so nasty, so explosive, man. And if you grab him, in seconds he's slinging you over his hip with his disgusting judo. Like Razak's definitely a force to be reckoned with. If they ever offered me his name, I'd be saying no quicker than I said anything ever. He's definitely someone I like to watch, and it's a pick and fight. I would put him. What would you do? Match that with someone for a parlay or something like that?
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's the fight I would do that and match him with. I'd probably match him with Umar if that would be much.
Okay.
And then boom, him, Umar, and then Gastelum. You're right there.
Okay, I actually really like that. If I was the closest sports betting casino to me is like a 5-hour drive, so I only get to go there on occasion. But I love that parlay. So I'm with you, Abdul Razak Al Hassan. I feel like he's going to be able to get the job done. Now the fight that we had the confusion there, that was Matus Mendoza, Javid Basharat. They're both undefeated. Basharat is 13-0. Mendoza is 10-0. In the bantamweight division right here, and Basharat's the big favorite, minus 345. This is definitely not a pick 'em. Do you feel like Basharat is the rightful favorite? Do you feel like he's going to go out there and get a statement win?
Well, if we're just counting on the numbers, man, Basharat would be the favorite, but this is still one of those hard ones to bet on, man. Both guys undefeated. You'd have to just look at the competition that they've had before this, but I would absolutely go with Basharat, especially if you have the chance of making money off that. Like he's proved it already that experience wise, he's not losing, and he's had more chances to lose than Mendoza has. So yeah, I would definitely go with Basharat.
Really interesting though. Again, they're both undefeated. Especially as a professional, if you have double digit fights and you're undefeated, that speaks as to just how good you are. So I'm intrigued about the line here. I mean, Vegas knows what they're doing, so the line is where it's at for a reason. But you could make some money here if you wanted to bet on Mendoza. I'm not saying that's what to do, but just saying, just throwing it out there. If you wanted to throw that into a parlay and it hits, that's some big money. We'll keep it moving. We'll go to the lightweight division. The newcomer Nick Fiore and Matus Rubicki, and I think this is probably a really difficult matchup for Fiore. I know he's from my area. He's from New England, and he's a really, really sizable underdog, plus 500, plus 510. Matus is minus 700. And this is short notice. This is one of those fights where, the UFC calls out to you and you just want to get your foot in the door, right? So you accept it, and you know that the odds are stacked against you, but you're hoping that you go in there, shock the world, and your next fight you'll get to have a full camp and all of that. What do you feel like from if you're looking at this from Fiore's point of view? What does he have to do to go in there and pull this big upset over Rubiki?
Honestly, man, Rabiki's very aggressive, dude. He swings with intention. He has good cardio, and he tries to wrestle as well a lot. Man, this is one of those fights, man. You look at it, and you're like, wow, like what has this guy done that they're throwing him basically to the lead wolf? Like not saying he's leading the pack, but just saying he's like a really tough first fight in the UFC. So just like I don't know, man. Nick being the underdog to win this, man, he definitely has to stick and move, and just come in here and find a way to get calm. But he's undefeated, so I guess that's probably why. Rabiki hasn't been lost. He hasn't lost that much. He only has that one loss. So I don't know, man. I don't know if I'd take Fiore on this. This is his first fight,
Yeah.
and different animal.
I know Fiore trains with some absolute studs. I mean, Calvin Cater, Rob Font, head coach Tyson Chartier. So he's got a lot of, very knowledgeable guys around him to get him ready. But again, this, especially for your first fight in the UFC, I mean, people talk about octagon jitters. I feel like that is a real thing for some people. How would you put that into perspective, for a debuting fighter, octagon jitters, fighting for the biggest promotion, the bright lights in front of the whole world?
Yeah, I mean it's a real thing. Like I remember my first fight with Bellator, it was a real thing for me. So, if he hasn't seen a big stage before, that could definitely come into play. But I mean, if he's been fighting on some decent sized cage, octagons in the past, and where they're putting on big shows, and he's been in front of those lights where he's meeting all these guys that he's watched when he was a kid and so forth, then he could be prepared for this. It's just hard to know, but he is training with studs, like you said. So, maybe these guys are preparing him, and maybe this guy's just a mentally tough individual, and that could be the case. And if so, man, hop on that board because he could definitely shock the world on this card for sure.
Yeah, I interviewed one of his training partners, who's a really high level regional fighter, Tom Pagliarulo, who trains right there with Cater and Font as well. And he told me it's just a matter of time before Fiore is going to be in the UFC. He's super legit, so we're going to get to see him this Saturday at UFC Vegas 67. I'm really, really looking forward to it. Let's go down to the flyweight division. Alan Nascimento and Carlos Hernandez. And Nascimento is the big favorite here, minus 345. Hernandez plus 285. Do you feel like there's some dog money on Hernandez, or do you feel like the smart money's on Alan?
Yeah, I think there's some money to make you right there on Carlos. I like Carlos a lot. He has some slick grappling. He has a nice jab as well and some decent striking, but he has really slick grappling. I'm kind of shocked that he's the underdog, but I would take advantage of that. That Carlos is a good guy. You should have your eye out for.
How do you see him getting a finish, or do you feel like this is going to go the distance?
He can go the distance because he has great cardio and he'll be attacking submissions the entire time. Um, if he finishes, I would guess like a late second round submission, something like that. Once things kind of set in, but I could see a decision win here.
All right. I like that. I mean, when you're going with a fairly sizable dog, I mean, you can make some real money here. Plus 285. I'm seeing some other lines plus 310. So right there, Carlos Hernandez. I'm gonna slide. I mean, I know you can't because you're an active UFC fighter,
Yeah,
but that's going into a DraftKings lineup for me.
yeah, sure. No, Carlos is. I like Carlos a whole lot. That would definitely be my pick had I be trying to pick someone. I would definitely put him with someone.
Okay. Let's move up to the featherweight division. Daniel Argueta and Isaac Dolgarian. And Argueta is your favorite, minus 180. Dolgarian plus 155. This one is quite a bit closer. What can you tell me about this fight?
Isaac's a dog, man. I'm not just being biased. I've trained with him plenty of times, And Isaac is a absolute dog. He trains hard. He trains with high level guys. And yeah, I don't. He's fighting a grappler as well, so I don't think Argueda's winning that fight. I think you could safely put some money on Isaac, and he's going to show out.
Okay, featherweight division. What is that? Do you know what the cut's like for him to 45? Is he a big featherweight?
Actually, I would say he's average. He doesn't seem big. He's actually kind of smaller, but he's pretty stocky, very built. Very athletic guy. I think he'd definitely be average, but he's good, man. He's slick. He's athletic. He's explosive, but he's also really technical, man. Yeah, I would watch out for Isaac right there for sure.
Okay, and his nickname is the Midwest Choppa. I love that. And looking at his previous fights, all 5 of his wins are round 1 finishes. So this is a guy that comes out strong, comes out fast, looks to put you out. So Daniel Argueta has a fight on his hands here at UFC Vegas 67. Joseph Holmes gives you a little inside info on a
Yeah,
dog that
dude, yeah, we share birthday, July 4th.
Okay, I love it. Oh, July 4th, the Independence Day. Fantastic.
Yeah.
All right. Now, this next fight, I'm really intrigued to hear what you have to say about because initially, Joseph, this was almost a pick'em fight. Jimmy Flick, Charles Johnson, and there's a
Mhm.
lot of money coming in on Charles Johnson. Right now, he's a massive favorite, minus 340. Jimmy Flick plus 280. He's making his return to the UFC octagon. He obviously retired a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
I mean, we've seen Jimmy Flick. This is a guy that's super, awkward on the ground. He's just
So
very dynamic. He's a lot of fun. That contender series fight that he had with Nate Smith was unbelievable. Do you feel like this should be a little bit closer? I mean, if you're telling me I can get Jimmy Flick plus 280, I'm jumping all over that.
I'm putting all that money on Jimmy. If I were y'all guys, I would absolutely bet on Jimmy. This is another guy I've been watching when I was coming up in the sport. And I remember seeing him and seeing him do some of the weirdest stuff, y'all. Like Jimmy is sick on the ground. Jimmy is you're not seeing anything coming. I heard Johnson has been training with like Burrows for this fight, but I don't know if Burrows is the right look to prepare for Jimmy. To be honest, it's hard to find someone who's going to do the things that he does on the ground. Not saying Johnson doesn't have a chance. Johnson has some awesome striking. Jimmy's been retired for a while. I don't know if he's been training during his retirement as well as as much as Johnson been, because Johnson's been pretty active too, hasn't he?
Yeah.
So, but no, I would definitely put money on Jimmy if he's the underdog and you have a chance. Yeah, I would definitely go for that.
Yeah, I mean Johnson's super legit. He had that recent split win over Zumagulov. Prior to that, he took Muhammad Makayev to the decision. I mean, a lot of people thought he was going to get finished early, and he was like, nope. He showed a lot of heart, a lot of tenacity, stayed in that fight. But you mentioned him training with Burrows. Do you feel like maybe he should have been focused on training with the high level jujitsu guy, not a wrestler?
Maybe Jimmy's really tricky. His takedowns aren't just like double legs. You know what I mean? So I think you're messing with somebody kind of more like a Ryan Hall style grappler, like a something like that. So maybe I think definitely maybe doing some heavy IBJ, 10th Planet, some Gracie Jiu Jitsu, something like that probably would have been the route I would have taken for this fight.
Okay. Well, this is it looks like according to Tapology that this is going to be the second fight on the card, which is surprising to me. I thought that this might be maybe your opener for the main card or maybe the highlight fight for the prelims, but it looks like it's going to be really early on. So you want to tune in, don't want to miss that flyweight bout. Now, the first fight of the night, Joseph, is 2 ladies in the bantamweight division. Sijara Eubanks, a
Yeah,
veteran fighter. She's 7-7. You know she wants to get this win, and she's your small underdog here. No, actually, she's your favorite. Minus 200, she's your favorite. And Priscilla Cochuera is the dog, minus 170, which is or plus 170, which is actually surprising to me because she's 12-4. I just feel like, when you just look at her record and the age that she should be the favorite. I was actually surprised that she's the dog. Do you agree, or do you feel like Sajara is the rightful favorite?
I mean, Eubanks is really tough, man. You can't sleep on her. She's been around for a little while as well. Um, I think I would. I don't know if I'd put my money on. against Eubanks in this matchup in particular. Eubanks is aggressive. She's shown some decent cardio in the past, but she's also just pretty like consistent. So I don't know if I'd go against Eubanks in that matchup.
She's 37. Coach she's a little bit younger. She's 34, so they're right in the same age range.
Right.
Really intriguing. But from a betting aspect, I'm just staying away from this one. I don't know one way or the other, and I almost feel like the odds could be even a little bit closer. But that's actually the first fight of the night, so that will kick UFC Vegas 67 off. So all 12 fights, we just ran through it for you guys. Give me when you look at the card top to bottom, Joseph, give me a parlay that you really like. We talked about it a little bit earlier.
Already got it. Actually, I was just thinking about that. I think my parlay would be. I think it's safe to say with Jimmy Flick, Carlos Hernandez, and now Sean Strickland. I think all three guys can. I could safely say have a great chance of winning as the underdog.
All right, so those three dogs right there. Jimmy Flick, he's plus 280. Hernandez plus 290. And now you have Sean Strickland plus 100. So those are all dogs. I mean, you put a parlay together like that, you win some serious money. I'll throw a couple on top of that. I feel very comfortable that Umar Nurmagomedov is going to get the win. Granted, he's a massive, massive favorite, minus 750. But if you put a couple of favorites into this mix with some dogs, it's just going to give your payout to be a lot more substantial if you do hit on all those fights. One last one, I really like Javid Basharat. He's a favorite, minus 350. But that's a 5 fight parlay that, if you wanted to play, hopefully hits and you can win some money. But that's going to do it here for our first show. Joseph, it was a blast doing this. I can't wait to do it more. UFC 283 is next week, so we'll be back with that. For the time being, make sure if you haven't already, you go to the All Access MMA YouTube channel, hit that subscribe button, and we will see you guys next week.
Let's go.